now bring in Senator Roger Marshall of Kansas. Sir, thank you so much for taking the time this morning. I do appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, good morning to you and your listeners. It's a tough day for Kansas. We lost 67 people. It just feels like a gut punch. And we're just lifting those families up in prayer, trying to surround them with our love. We're all mourning with them, and it's a tough day.
Yeah,
Thank you.
We know the American Airlines flight was coming into D.C. from Wichita. I'm sure some of the people that you represent were likely on that flight. What are you hearing from families this morning?
Yeah, I think we're just all in shock. At least half of these families are from Wichita. It looks like a fair number of people from the East Coast as well. But there's only one direct flight out of Wichita. This is a flight I've taken multiple times, and it would be unusual for me to get on that plane and not recognize some of the people in there. But regardless, it just we're all on our knees today. We're humbled. We're just praying for God's grace on all these families. They got a tough day ahead of them. Just trust me, it's a tough day.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing that's rocking everybody to their core, right, is that this could have been any of us just on a flight to D.C. that this happened to. You know, President Trump has now said that this deadly crash, quote, should have been prevented. At this point, the FAA, the NTSB, the Department of Transportation, all investigating in tandem together. With what you know so far, do you agree with that, sir, that this was preventable?
I do, and I appreciate President Trump's transparency. I really, really do, that the American people deserve to be leveled with. There was a couple huge concerns. Why are we letting military aircraft in this airspace? This is the busiest runway in America. Why are we letting them there in the first place? And then their transponders don't communicate with commercial planes. So I understand why they don't have transponders on. They don't want the bad guys to know where they are. But if you're going to be in airspace where there's commercial airplanes, very busy, you need to have a transponder that works. There's other places they could do this military training. This helicopter should have never been above 200 feet. The collision occurred at 350. So all the helicopters have a ceiling of 200 feet. Why was he up there? Why was air traffic control not yelling and screaming at him or her as well? So I do think this should have never happened. And just it's so sad.
What questions do you have for air traffic control? Because, we're getting that report that there was only one person there that was supposed to be doing the job of two. Senator, what do you make of that, and what do you want to know from the FAA?
Yeah, so we did meet with the FAA and the National Transportation folks yesterday as well. And the sad thing is every question I have for them is we'll get back. My question is the policy. Why are we letting military planes, police planes in this very busy airspace if they don't have transponders to work? And then, of course, their radio communication's a different channel than the commercial flights as well. Look, I hate to point fingers. I don't want to jump to conclusions, but I think air traffic control could have helped prevent this situation as well. And we're waiting for that full review. We know that sometimes they only have one person handling this. Usually they have one person handling just the helicopter. And if they had that one person focused on the helicopters, again, I think they've been yelling and screaming, what are you doing above 200 feet? And these folks had night goggles on, which decreases your peripheral vision in the helicopter. Most likely that's what we're assuming. If you need to do that type of training, don't do it above DCA Airport.
Speaking of just that airspace, Class B airspace, very congested, extremely busy. Just last year, though, Congress gave the A-OK to add 10 more daily flights to DCA. I know fellow senators like Tim Kaine, opposed that move. You think that needs to be rethought, sir?
Yeah, I think once I discovered this horrible policy of allowing military plane in this airspace without a transponder on, I think we need to revisit everything. And if they're going to increase the flights, then we need to have more air traffic control. And by the way, last week, President Trump hired over 100 more of these air traffic controllers. So he's trying to address this problem up front, and he was trying to reverse this trend in less safety within the air traffic control and more within the FAA, I would say.
Mm-hmm. And before I let you go, what's your message to passengers across the country who are now nervous to get on a plane?
Yeah, I understand. I have empathy, and I appreciate President Trump's upfront communication here. They've grounded, or there's no more helicopters allowed in this airspace at DCA as well right now. This is the first accident It's been 15 or 20 years, the first major accident as well. Still probably safer than traveling in a car. But
thanks for watching, everybody. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. Also, don't forget to click that red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.